Hello, friends. So good to be with you today. I appreciate you joining me for this week's leadership podcast. I've got some things I've been thinking about. I just wanted to share with you a couple of moments. Obviously, we want to be successful in what we do, but there are a lot of hidden things that shape us, things that maybe have sabotaged us. Sometimes it isn't even necessarily by our doing. Sometimes it's by what other people do. I was thinking, I wonder how many people today actually either go through therapy or need therapy on some level. I mean, have you thought about that? How many people are struggling with mental problems? And I'm not talking about being insane or something like that, but I'm talking about with things of insecurity and fear or inferiority. There's a lot of times they get into situations that are in business and they almost sabotage themselves because they're so intimidated by their circumstances surrounding people that they literally turtle back. They go into this shell, I'm just thinking a lot more people I think than we realize go through that. Maybe you do. And that's not to shame anyone with that. Those are just things that we face. A lot of those things have been heaved on us by other people. They have been, their lives have been shaped by other people. I'm finding more and more as I go through life that I see how many times people that in their childhood that were either abused or some event happened that marked them. And I'll tell you how you can usually find that event. It doesn't take it long to come right to the surface. I mean, when you can go back 20, 30, 40 years, maybe it was childhood, maybe it was school or whatever, but an event immediately is just below the surface. You can recall it. If I say, what event happened in your life that embarrassed you? What event happened in your life that made you ashamed or caused you to want to go hide? And many times, boom. I mean, you're talking about like I was like 9 years old and that happened. How can I recall that so easily? And the reason is because many times we've got wounds in our heart and we've never addressed them. And as a result, we carry them through life into our married life. We carry them into our business life. See, there's reasons for success. Did you know that? Life's intended to work. And as you do things that are right, you're going to find that life works for you. But there's also reasons for failure. There's a lot of times we sabotage ourselves and we don't even realize what we've done. But you've got to realize that there are things, and I guess the point I want to say is there's things outside the scope of your responsibility. In other words, you kind of fell victim to somebody else's anguish. Somebody else went through something and they became abusive to you. You weren't doing anything. You were just there, but you fell victim to them. They were drunk or they were abused themselves. I mean, it's almost like a generational thing that's passed down. But see, what's happened is because of those things, it's caused you to have feelings of insecurity and fear. And so I want to talk to you about that for just a moment because we need to be able to address those things. We need to be able to deal with them. Sometimes you address them by putting them out on the table. You get them out of your head. As long as they're in your head, they're huge because your imagination is at work along with it. But when you actually get them out on the table of examination and conversation, you realize it's not that big a deal and you can deal with it. Sometimes it is just done that way. Sometimes prayer, someone praying for you, helping you deal with that. That's also very important. But the fact is if there's things in your life that's causing you to draw back, causing you to feel inferior, causing you to feel insecure, you need to deal with that. Because you can deal with it. You say, well, this terrible thing happened. Listen, terrible things happen to people all throughout history. The ones it makes the difference for are the ones who decide to stay in that and use that as a crutch. There are things that people embrace, unfortunately, that they lean on and they use as an excuse. Well, the reason I'm this way is because of them or because of that. So as a result, that just gives me the excuse to live the rest of my life acting the way I'm acting. But it's destroying my life. It's hurting my relationships. It's hindering my business. It's taking all the things that deal with success and it's taking me in the wrong direction. So this is something that I want to really encourage you to begin to look at. Because what happens is, like I said, we can fall victim to somebody else's anguish, and it becomes our identity. And when something becomes your identity, it becomes your future. It begins to shape your future. It almost becomes your name tag. Just put that on there. I'm the insecure, fearful one that's afraid to do this and afraid to do that. And it has every drawback possible. And so it almost becomes a name that we take for ourselves. Well, that's my name. And we start calling ourselves that, and pretty soon other people are calling that too. Loser, wannabe, failure, disappointment, unlucky, afraid, geek, dweeb, can't keep a wife, can't keep a job, can't do anything right, can't follow through. I mean, think about that. Good for nothing, born on the wrong side of the tracks. I mean, those become titles and names that we take onto ourselves that hinders success from working through our life. And this is something you've got to make the decision to do. I'm reminded, of course, I know all of you know the story of Jabez, which was a powerful story. I mean, Jabez had all of the problems. I mean, he had how do you call someone? Jabez means sorrow bringer. I think that's the exact terminology for it. Sorrow bringer. What a title to put on yourself. Seriously, what a title to put on yourself. Sorrow bringer, or to have somebody else. And, his mother, his father, they're the ones that called him that. Maybe it was out of their anguish that he was labeled that. I'm reminded of the story of Jacob and Rebekah. They were coming through Bethany, and she was pregnant and going to have a child, and she died in childbirth. And in her death, she said, his name will be Benoni, which is the son of my sorrow. And it was out of her anguish. I mean, she was in pain. She was dying. And out of her anguish, she loaded that innocent child with a name that is horrible. But Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel, stepped up and he said, no, that's not going to be what his name is. His name is not going to be Benoni, but Benjamin will be his name. Wow. Benjamin, that means of the right hand. That's a name of authority. That's a name of strength. See, sometimes you have to have family members or other people that step up for you and say, that's not what you are. Maybe you got people in your family that's going through things. Sometimes you have to just step into them and say, hey, that is not what you are. But when we go over here to Jabez, what did Jabez do? He didn't have anybody else. I don't know what his circumstances were, but he was named Jabez. And you know what he did? He went to the Lord with it. He went to the God of covenants, the God of Israel that makes covenants. And he said this, enlarge my borders. Now, you know what that means, enlarge my borders? In other words, this is my boundaries. This is where I'm forced to live. I can't get outside this. But I'm asking you to enlarge my borders, my perception of myself, my identity. He cried out to the Lord. And he said, get me out of this box. I've been given this image and I didn't ask for this. I mean, they had a bad day and now I'm saddled with this. But it said this, I love that verse. It's over in 1 Chronicles 4. It said Jabez was more honorable than all of his brethren, but his mother called him Jabez, saying, I bore him with sorrow. And Jabez is what it said. It said, Jabez called on the God of Israel, saying, oh, that you would bless me, enlarge my borders, enlarge my coast, and that your right hand might be with me, and that you would keep me from evil, that it may not grieve me. Sometimes you go to the Lord with those things and you ask for help. Can I just tell you this? He'll help you, because you know what it said concerning Jabez? It said there in verse 10, I believe it was, it said, and God granted him what he requested. God will meet you where you are, and he'll enlarge your borders. Who you are. You've been boxed in by fear. You've been boxed in by intimidation. Lord, you can't even return a call without feeling pressure about it. You get to the phase, you hate to see people. You almost hate to answer the telephone because you're thinking, dear God, what's this going to be? I mean, it's such a negative mindset, and it's stealing your productivity. It's stealing your success. And you need to get those things healed. And again, I want to say that in regard to Benjamin and in regard to Jabez, they didn't do anything. Jacob, he didn't do anything. They called him Jacob, heel catcher. That was other people's perception of him. They called him that. And it wasn't even their responsibility to do it. That's the father's responsibility. It should have been Isaac that did it. But he let other people's perception of Jacob define him. And buddy, it did. And that's what will happen. People around you will do that. But don't let them name you. Don't let them put titles on you. You are too important for this. And you're going to have to keep your head and your heart in the game, because you're too important to what's going on. So this is the thing I just want to leave with you today. We can talk a lot about success, but one of the greatest challenges in building success in people is dealing with the self-image that they have, the image of fear and the uncertainty and all of those things. They don't realize how big that they are. They don't realize what God's put in them, and so they disqualify themselves from the race when all the time they ought to be the ones that's in there, but they're sitting on the sideline because their feelings got hurt. Listen, if your feelings get hurt so easy, there's something wrong with you, not with them out there, because that's the people are always going to be there to bump you wrong and to say something. I mean, that's just going to happen. And if you don't want that to happen, what you need to do is go into your closet, lock the door, and don't ever come out, because somebody's going to say something to you that you don't like, and it's going to hurt your feelings. But listen to me. If your feelings get hurt, if you're that, take the responsibility to say, is something wounded in me? And you may not have help from other people, but you can go to the Lord and pray the prayer of Jabez. Oh, that you would bless me indeed, enlarge my coast, that it might be well with me, and that you would keep me from evil. Pray that prayer. Cry out to the God of covenants, and he'll answer you, and he'll heal your heart. He'll heal your memory, and he'll deliver you from the thing you've been in. And I promise the latitude that you have, the success that you walk in will be enlarged considerably when you get that stuff healed. So your leadership is important. And this is a huge part of your leadership. As a matter of fact, it's probably the biggest part of your leadership. Everything in life rises or falls to the watermark of what you believe about you. And sometimes we believed a lie, and it's stolen from us. But not anymore. Baby, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to find out who I am, and I'm going to be bold enough to declare it. I may not believe it when I start it, but that's the rumor I'm starting anyway. Oh, thank you for being with me today. I just hope that a few thoughts have resonated with you, and I just wanted to visit with you about your identity. And it's important that you take time to begin to develop that part of your life. You're going to do some great things, but you got to start here, because you'll get halfway out there, and immediately what you'll start thinking about is your insecurities and your fears, and somebody hurt my feelings, and somebody said this, and you'll just go home, and you'll get out of the race, and you'll miss all that God has for you. So I just want to pray for you. Father, thank you. Thank you for your blessings on our lives. We need you. Sometimes we don't even know who we're supposed to be. We've been told by so many people and their opinions and their sarcasm and and their cynicism has just caused a wound, a root of rejection to be established in us. But God, I'm praying that you would hear the cry of every person that's listening to my voice right now. And as they call upon the God of covenants and they say, Lord, like Jabez said there, oh, that you would bless me indeed and enlarge my coast. I don't want to be held into this box. Enlarge what I think about myself. Enlarge what other people see about me. That your hand might be with me and that you would keep me from evil and that it may not grieve me. That was the prayer of Jabez. Father, I'm praying that prayer for them. Bless them, I pray. Release them from the chains. Release them from the boundaries that other people have put in and heal their wounded heart and their mind and their will and their emotions, I pray, in Jesus' name. And I thank you for it. Amen. Well, I get in these I get in these situations and all you got to do is just talk about the Lord for a moment and it just, boy, I'll tell you what, his presence is there. Thank the Lord for his presence. He's so generous with that. I just pray that his presence would go with you, that peace would be with you tonight. Now listen, if you need me for anything, you can obviously go to my website, jerryedmond.com. Share this with somebody and stay in touch with me. Let me know how you're doing. If I don't get back to you, please forgive me. I'm in the process of trying to work and rework my system to where I'm able to take care of all the things, but I do want to say thank you for joining me. Okay, thank you. And I do look forward to seeing you soon. I look forward to seeing you for sure. I'll see you in the next podcast. All right. All right. Love you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.